Are you one of those home buyers whose only question at an Idaho open house is, what's the price? Well, sure, the price is a paramount consideration for all of us, but there's so much more to consider when making the biggest purchase of your life. I'm Laura Triratinopat. I'm an Idaho native realtor with John L. Scott Real Estate here in Boise, Idaho, and I am always amazed by the number of people who are reluctant to ask the really important questions that anyone buying a home anywhere should be asking. The answers to the 14 or 15 questions I have below can make the difference between buying a home you love and will live in for years, or buying a dud house that doesn't really suit you and which you end up selling a year or two later. And of course, you lose a lot of money when you do that. Some of these questions may strike you as odd, and some of them may make the listing agent a bit uncomfortable, but they all need to be asked. So grab a pen and a notebook when starting your Idaho house hunt and take lots of notes when you question the listing agent or whoever is holding the house open that day. Once you settle on a home that you'd like to buy, make sure your own agent gets all of these answers in writing from the listing agent. Make sure it's in writing. So question number one. Why is the seller moving? I'm going to tell you up front that the listing agent doesn't have to answer this one here in Idaho, because Idaho representation agreements require the agent to maintain confidentiality for the client. A good agent is unlikely to tell you anything that might put her client at a disadvantage when it comes to negotiations. For example, a good agent won't tell you that the seller needs to move immediately because of a work relocation to another state. That info could lead buyers to believe that the seller is desperate and will accept a lowball offer. But it doesn't hurt to ask, and understanding the seller's motivation can provide valuable insight into the home's history and the urgency of the sale. Common reasons could include downsizing, relocating for work, getting married, or needing more space. If the seller is moving due to neighborhood issues or problems with the house itself, this is something you will want to know. Again, agents shouldn't be telling you anything that will put the seller at a disadvantage, but you should ask anyway. And here's a good tip. If you're looking at a home being sold by the owner himself without an agent, my advice is to question the owner carefully about everything you can think of. The seller is unlikely to hold back any information, even if it puts him at a disadvantage in negotiations, because he just doesn't know any better. Your own agent, and you do have your own agent, right, may be able to get a more specific answer from the listing agent if this is a home you really want to make an offer on. So just remember, it doesn't cost anything to ask. Question number two, how long has the house been on the market? The length of time a property has been on the market may tell you something about the price, the condition of the home, or just about the market itself. A home that's been listed for a long time in a hot market, like what we had 4 years ago in Idaho, might suggest overpricing or issues with the home or the neighborhood. On the other hand, if the market is slow or moderate, expect many homes to sit longer on the market even if they are priced correctly and have no other issues. If a home has just been listed, it could be in high demand, and you'll need to act quickly if you intend to make an offer. If the home has been on the market a while, ask if there have been any price reductions or if the seller is open to negotiation. Also ask if the home has been under contract already, but the contract has fallen through. Okay, this may indicate a problem with the buyer's loan, or it could indicate that the home inspection found serious issues. Your own agent can get that information for you from the MLS here in Idaho if the listing agent is unwilling to answer, but I always like to ask the listing agent. Okay, question number three. Are there any offers on the table already? If other buyers are already making offers, you will need to act quickly and strategically. Knowing if there are competing offers can also help you gauge how much flexibility you might have in negotiations. Ask how soon the seller plans to review offers. This can give you a timeline for making your own decision. And hey, if this info is helpful, please give the video a like and subscribe to my channel so you can see my other videos. Thank you, I appreciate that. Next, what is included in the sale? What you see in the house isn't necessarily what you get. Ask if the appliances, the light fixtures, any outdoor equipment like sheds or hot tubs are included. You want to avoid surprises later. If certain items are not included but you really love them, ask if they can be negotiated into the sale. And remember, this is Idaho. The customs or rules around selling a home may be different in your home state. So be sure to ask rather than assume that something will be included with the home. it's better not to be disappointed. Number 5, are there any known issues with the property? Idaho real estate law requires full disclosure from sellers and their agents if they know about a problem with the home. Unfortunately, not everything is always known about a home's condition, which is why I always encourage my buyers to pay for a good home inspection. Idaho real estate law also requires sellers to fill out a document listing known issues with the home's major systems. This document is available to any buyer. It's called the RE25. Ask if you can see it or if the listing agent can send a copy to your agent. Unfortunately, the most serious problems that a home can have are usually the ones that are least likely to be visible when touring an open house. I mean, think about the roof. You can't really see the roof. There could be structural issues, a problem with the plumbing or the electrical system, issues with the furnace and the air conditioning. So make a point of asking about these and be sure to get a home inspection. Question 6, what are the average utility costs? Ask for typical costs for electricity, water, gas, sewer, and trash. If the home has solar panels, find out if they've been paid for in full. If not, how does the seller plan to handle that at closing? Will you, as the buyer, be expected to take on the payments, or will the seller pay off the panels before closing? Solar panels can be pretty expensive. Here in Idaho, we have one electricity provider and one natural gas provider. So that's Idaho Power and Intermountain Gas. But sewer, trash, and water providers will vary by city or county. Question number 7. Okay, this one is tricky, even though it seems quite innocuous at first glance, and that is, what can you tell me about the neighborhood? The agent should not be offering information about demographics, crime rates, or perceived school quality. He can't tell you, quote, what kind of people live in the neighborhood. He cannot provide any information that would be in violation of the U.S. federal fair housing laws. He can tell you about the HOA if there is one. He can tell you about the amenities offered in the subdivision, things like the swimming pool, playground, tennis courts, walking paths, etc. He can list nearby parks, restaurants, and shopping areas. And he can give you the names of the schools in that school district and the location of hospitals and other medical facilities. He can tell you anything he may know about upcoming developments, new roads, zoning changes, but he may not know everything. So remember, fair housing laws are national, not state. So don't expect Idaho to have different fair housing laws than the state where you currently live. They're the same everywhere. Okay, number 8. How old are the major components of the home? Big ticket items like the roof, the HVAC, the water heater can be really expensive to replace. Ask the agent about the age and condition of these components to understand your potential future costs. If major components are nearing the end of their lifespan, factor replacement costs into your budget or consider negotiating repairs or replacement into your offer. Again, a thorough home inspection is going to be well worth the money. Number 9, has the home been updated or remodeled? Updates can certainly add value to the property, but it's essential to know who did the work and whether they had a permit. Ask about the scope of the renovations, whether or not the contractor was licensed, if a permit was obtained. You might be surprised how often they're not, and whether the property is up to code. Honestly, many agents may not know the answers to these questions, but they've got to be answered in writing before you buy that home. I have to warn you that a fair amount of remodeling work is done here in Idaho without a permit or by unlicensed contractors. You definitely need to check these things out before you buy that house. Number 10, what is the HOA situation? If the property is part of a homeowners association, you should find out the monthly or annual dues and what they cover or don't cover. Some HOAs have strict rules that may not align with your lifestyle. Be sure to read the HOA's covenants, conditions, and restrictions, or CCRs, before you make an offer. If you don't understand what you're reading, have a lawyer take a quick look. It's better to spend a little bit of money on a lawyer now than to buy a home and regret the decision later. And remember, almost all new build homes here in Idaho's Treasure Valley will have an HOA. That's pretty common throughout the nation now. Number 11, how much did the seller pay in property taxes for the previous year? Here in Idaho, be sure to ask if the owner took a homeowner's exemption. Idaho homeowners exemptions are only available to people who occupy the home as their primary residence. The exemption reduces, but does not eliminate, your property tax bill. If the seller was using the home as a rental, he or she will not have an exemption. Your taxes should be lower if you live in the home yourself and apply for an exemption. Make sure you ask about any special assessments or levies that the agent may be aware of. They may not know about all of them, so make sure that you and your agent do your own due diligence before making a purchase, just in case the listing agent doesn't have all his ducks in a row. Number 12, is there a history of flooding or other natural hazards? Is flood insurance required for the property? Boise and other parts of the Treasure Valley have certain areas near the rivers that may be prone to flooding. Ask if the home is in a flood zone or has been affected by wildfires or other natural disasters. If the property requires flood insurance, find out how much that homeowner has been paying. And as a backup, always ask your own insurance provider these questions as well. Don't take it for granted that the homeowner has the correct info. So what is a seller's preferred closing timeline? Understanding the seller's ideal timeline can help you and your agent write a more appealing offer. Some sellers may need a quick sale, while others might prefer a longer closing to accommodate their own move. If the seller needs more time, consider offering what we call a rent-back agreement to make your offer stand out from others. Number 14, don't forget to ask about property restrictions, for example, easements, zoning laws, or historic preservation district regulations. Easement and water rights are especially important in rural Idaho. In fact, if you're buying a rural property, there's a whole set of additional questions you'll want to ask, and I do have a video on that subject as well, probably 2 or 3 videos. Ask the listing agent for a copy of the title report to review any restrictions or easements in detail, and that's really important to know that stuff. Finally, did you notice how many times I mentioned your agent? Make sure you have your own agent when you go to buy a home. The listing agent is contractually obligated here in Idaho to put the seller first, not the buyer. You want someone in your corner to stand up for you and make sure you get the best home at the best price. Thanks for watching. I'll be happy to help you with your Idaho home purchase if you're thinking of moving here.